compatriots. Join me as I challenge myself to confront my local government and demand what's right. Let's see if I can actually make a difference. Why are so many people afraid to speak up for their rights? In Nigeria, a shocking statistic reveals that less than 40% of eligible voters participate in elections, with many citing fear of political violence, intimidation, or the belief that their votes won't count. This fear extends beyond the ballot box. Many Nigerians hesitate to demand better governance, accountability, and social justice because they've been conditioned to believe that resistance is futile. But why should citizens who are supposed to be the backbone of democracy live in fear of the very leaders they elect? The truth is, the government has carefully set up mechanisms to keep the masses in check, ensuring they remain powerless and submissive. Every 4 years during election season, politicians return with the same empty promises, deceiving the people into voting for them again. Meanwhile, those who dare to challenge the system often face threats, harassment, or even worse. The fear of social repercussions, police brutality, and economic punishment silences many, forcing them into a state of passive acceptance. This cycle of manipulation has made it nearly impossible for Nigerians to demand real change, trapping them in a loop of exploitation and broken promises. Yet deep within the hearts of the people, a flicker of hope remains, yearning for a day when their voices will be heard and valued. This hope is ignited by grassroots movements and young activists who refuse to accept the status quo any longer. Yet history shows that fear can be overcome. Movements like the Civil Rights Movement in the United States and the End SARS protests in Nigeria prove that when people unite and refuse to back down, governments are forced to listen. While the End SARS protests faced brutal suppression, they also sent a powerful message. Nigerians are no longer willing to accept oppression without a fight. However, many remain hesitant to speak up, fearing for their safety and livelihoods. The challenge now is to channel that fear into sustained action, learning from past movements that successfully turned fear into power. A perfect example of courage is Fela Anikulapo Kuti, the Afrobeat legend who used his music to call out government corruption and oppression. Despite being arrested, beaten, and harassed multiple times, he never backed down. His resistance inspired a generation to question authority and demand justice. In contemporary times, activists like Dele Farotimi and Rinu Oduwala have continued this legacy, fearlessly confronting the government despite threats and intimidation. Their stories remind us that real change starts with individuals who refuse to be silenced. What about you? Have you ever faced resistance when demanding your rights? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to check out our next video on how citizens can hold their leaders accountable.